Hi, and welcome to this video series on how to play four-mallet marimba music. My name is David Skidmore. This video series accompanies my book of lessons and etudes, which is available at the link below. In this introductory lesson, we'll talk about what you need to know already to take advantage of this video series. We'll be talking about how to hold four mallets. We'll be talking about how to stand at the marimba with proper posture. We'll be talking about the 7 different stroke types with four-mallet marimba playing. And we'll be talking about what to expect from this video series and the book that accompanies it. All of the exercises and etudes in these lessons are written for a 4 1/3 octave low A marimba, and many of the exercises and etudes can also be played on a smaller 4 octave marimba. Let's clarify some terminology before we get started. When I'm referring to my fingers throughout this entire series, I'll refer to them as my thumb, first finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger. And the mallets I'll always refer to low to high as 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's get started talking about how to hold four mallets. There are 3 basic types of grips when playing four mallets. The Stevens grip, also known as the modified Musser grip, the Burton grip, and the traditional grip. And I should mention that all of these grips work not only when you're playing the marimba, but also when you're playing the vibraphone or any other scenario where you need to hold four mallets. Although I do talk about some technical aspects of a specific grip type throughout the series, any of the exercises and etudes in this entire series can work with any of these 3 grip types. Personally, I don't feel that one grip type is better than the other. However, I've spent most of my career using the Stevens grip, so you'll see me using the Stevens grip mostly throughout this series. However, I've seen some amazing performances with percussionists using the traditional grip or the Burton grip. So work with your teacher and find the grip that works best for you. If you're completing this lesson series without a private or classroom percussion teacher, I would recommend that you use the Stevens grip, simply because that's what I'm going to be using for most of the lessons. So let's talk about the Stevens grip. This grip is named for the incredible performer, composer, and educator Lee Howard Stevens. Start with the outside mallet, which rests between the ring finger and middle finger. The ring finger and pinky finger curl around that outside mallet. And the mallet should balance between the fleshy part of the heel of your hand and your ring finger. The inside mallet rests between the thumb and first finger. The mallet shaft is very loosely held between the pad of the thumb and the first joint of the first finger. The mallet should balance between the fleshy part under your thumb and your first finger. The hand should rest almost perpendicular to the floor. And the hands should be completely relaxed when you're holding the mallets. In a very relaxed position, both mallets are the same distance above the keyboard. Try putting your hand into the correct position, completely relaxing your hand and resting the mallets on the marimba, or any flat surface will work. This will show you exactly how your hand should look and how it should feel when playing with this grip. Okay, I'm not going to lie, this grip will feel pretty awkward the first time that you try it out in your hands, but if you'll work on it, the payoff is really worth it, because this grip will give you a lot of control over how wide the mallets are in the intervals in your hand. It'll give you a lot of control over dynamics and phrasing, and it'll give you a lot of control over each of the 7 different stroke types that we're going to be talking about throughout this video lesson series. To change intervals, or the distance between the mallets in your hand with the Stevens grip, roll the inside mallet between your thumb and first finger. You can practice getting comfortable holding the mallets or changing intervals with this grip even when you're away from the marimba. All you need is any flat surface like a table or a floor or a book. If you're practicing holding the mallets, just rest them on the surface. You can do this while you're studying or reading. And if you're practicing mallet changes, also practice those with the mallets resting on that flat surface so that you make sure that the angle of the mallets stays consistent. Next, let's talk about the Burton grip, which is named for the legendary jazz vibraphone player Gary Burton. This is one of the 2 cross grips, so named because the mallets are crossed in your hands. Start with one mallet in your hand in a normal grip like you would use for two-mallet percussion playing. Then take a second mallet and insert it between your first and middle finger, with this new mallet that you're inserting, the outside mallet, on top of the first mallet, which is the inside mallet. Your pinky and ring finger should curl around that first mallet, the inside mallet, and your middle finger should curl around both mallets. And in a relaxed position, both mallet heads should be equal distance above the keyboard, and the back of your hand is almost parallel to the floor. To make intervals more narrow with the Burton grip, you do the exact opposite. Push the mallet closer to your body with the pinky and ring finger and pull it away from your body with the first finger. And rotate your wrist while you're doing that to maintain the orientation of the mallets on the marimba bars. To practice changing intervals with the Burton grip, try scratching the palm of your hand with your pinky and ring finger. You use the same motion and the same types of muscles when you're doing this as you would when you're changing intervals with the Burton grip. This grip is fantastic for louder playing or playing where you're not changing the interval very often. For instance, I use this grip when I play the second movement of Marimba Spiritual by Minoru Miki. I also find the grip really useful when I'm playing marimba and another instrument, like for instance a drum, because there's a lot of stability when you're using the Burton grip. And the third grip type is the traditional grip, which is the other cross grip. There are many advantages to traditional grips, similar to those with Burton grip. There's a lot of stability, so the grip works well on marimba, as well as vibraphone, drums, or any other percussion instrument. And many people also feel that traditional grip is the easiest grip to learn. There are some incredible percussionists who use the traditional grip, at least part of the time, including Peter Martin of Third Coast Percussion, soloist Svet Stoyanov, and the grip is also very popular throughout Europe and Asia. I don't use traditional grip myself, so I won't be featuring it throughout most of this video lesson series. However, I did want to include some basics on how to hold the mallets and how to change intervals with this grip. Start once again holding one mallet, just as you would if you were playing two-mallet keyboard percussion music. Then take that second mallet and insert it between the first and middle finger. But insert this new mallet underneath the existing mallet. So that means my outside mallet is going to be below my inside mallet, which is the opposite of what I did for the Burton grip. I'm going to wrap my pinky and ring finger as well as my middle finger around both mallets. And to change intervals, I'll push the mallets apart with my thumb and first finger, or push them together with my thumb and outside fingers. So note the differences between the Burton grip and the traditional grip. With Burton grip, my outside mallet is on top of my inside mallet, and my pinky and ring finger wrap around just the inside mallet. First, we need to get the marimba to an appropriate height. So to do that, take a couple steps back from the instrument with your hands very relaxed at your side, holding 4 mallets. Make sure that your back is comfortable, that you're not slouching, and that you're not standing sort of awkwardly straight with tension in your back. And now bend your elbow so it's at just a little bit over a 90-degree angle. And now walk back to the marimba, and your mallet should rest comfortably on the instrument. If not, if it's too high or too low, adjust the height of the instrument. Most modern marimbas have a mechanism that will allow you to raise or lower the height of your instrument. But if your marimba doesn't have one of those, you can get PVC pipe cut to a certain length that will make the marimba the ideal height for you. What you'll do is set the wheels of your marimba inside this PVC pipe. So you want to make sure that the pipe is narrow enough that the marimba wheel will fit into the PVC pipe without falling all the way through. And you'll want to make sure that the pipe is wide enough that the marimba is sturdy and that it won't get knocked over while you're playing it. Having your marimba at the proper height is a really important first step, because if the marimba is too high or too low, it can have a negative impact on you as you're trying to learn how to play the instrument. And it could even cause discomfort or pain over time. Another really important thing to think about is how far you're standing from the marimba. So to figure out where to stand, we're going to once again take a couple steps back with our hands relaxed at our sides, holding the 4 mallets. Now, bend your elbow so it's once again at an angle that's just above 90 degrees. Elbows are resting comfortably by your body. And then take a step forward to the instrument. And at the point where your mallets are resting at an ideal playing position, just beyond the resonator underneath the bars, then you'll be standing at the proper distance from the marimba. Once again, if you're standing too close to the marimba or too far from the marimba, you could over time develop discomfort or pain while playing, or it could just make it harder for you to learn how to play the instrument. Now let's talk about what your feet should be doing while you're playing. When playing marimba, stand with your feet about shoulder width apart or a little bit wider. Center your body between the lowest and highest note that you're going to play. If you need to, you can always lean so that your body becomes centered on a different area of the marimba without having to take a step. If you do need to take a step while playing the marimba, always take a shuffle step. So that means that if I'm starting in the low register and moving to the high register, I'll take a step with my right foot, and my left foot will immediately follow and land once again at a distance of about a shoulder width apart. If I need to move from the high register to the low register, I take a step with my left foot, and my right foot immediately follows. When you take a shuffle step, your body stays squarely faced towards the marimba. Another type of step might mean that your body's no longer centered on the marimba, or if you cross your legs while stepping, you run the risk of tripping yourself. So take 5 seconds before you play to make sure that your feet are at a proper width, that you're standing the correct distance from the marimba, that the marimba is the correct height. If you do this every time that you play, then eventually it'll become second nature and it'll be something that you don't have to think about anymore.